I think there's some people here. I see Betsy and Marilyn. Type in the chat if you're here. Can everybody hear me? We're going to be starting in a few minutes, so just type in the chat where you're calling in from. You should be able to see a chat option there. I am going to be checking the chat every now and then, so feel free to write things in the chat and I will check every now and then and see how people are doing. So just type in the chat where you're calling in from. And we're going to get going in just about a minute. Okay, we're going to get started. Okay, I'm not sure why Does anybody see me? I am not sure why it's not showing me. I've done this before and it has shown me just fine, but I don't see me here. I'm not sure if anybody else does. Can you just type in the chat? Does anybody see me? This is really weird. This never happened to me before. So I blame it all on solar flare. So we're going to get going. And since it doesn't really seem to show me here, what I'm going to do is just go back to the slides. I was hoping to be live with you in the beginning and the end so that you can see my bright and cheery face. Oh, you can see me. Oh, good. So it's just me that can't see me. That is okay with me because, um, just because. So I am so grateful that you're here today, and this is going to be a fun thing. And remember, because we're on a webinar, that it's very easy to get distracted. So you might want to turn off, much as it might pain you to do so. You might want to turn off your email notifications, turn off your Facebook notifications, and say that you're all in and be here completely and totally. We're going to be doing some exercises. So we're going to have a piece of paper. And if you have any 3x5 cards, a 3x5 card would be perfect because we will use that. If you don't have a 3x5 card handy, you can just write it on a piece of paper and transfer it at a later time. And I know that at the end of this, there are going to be some of you who want to learn more about this and take it deeper and really integrate it into your life and build your life in a powerful way. So at the end, I am going to have an offer for all of you if you're interested. And anyone who stays till the end, I have a special gift. So before we get going, I just want to give you a little background about myself. It was and how I got started in all of this. It was a number of years ago. And my mother was dying of cancer, and I had just ended a significant relationship, and I was feeling heartbroken and kind of lost. I don't know if any of you have felt that way in the past or not, but I just felt as though I needed to do something, and I decided to do something fun. So I went to, well, I just lost it. I went to hear a friend of mine sing. And I noticed that the place that she was singing at had a lot of books that I had read, and they weren't your average everyday book. So I figured it would be a good place for me to go. So I started attending there. And it was a church. It was Unity Church on Delaware. And I started attending there. The first 3 weeks I cried. And anybody that knew me back then would think that was very odd because I was really not a very openly emotional person, but I just felt such a sense of belonging and connection there. And I started attending regularly. I started taking classes, and then I actually started teaching classes. And I just loved it when people got it, when that light bulb goes off and they start doing things differently and seeing things differently. And I took a class, a prosperity class by somebody named Mary Morrissey. And I wanted to take the work that I was doing to the secular world. And I saw that Mary Morrissey had a coaching program. So I signed up for her coaching program, and the rest is all history, so to speak. So now I have the privilege and the honor of coaching people into creating extraordinary results in their life. So I'm just going to, before we switch back over to the PowerPoint, I just want to check my notes and make sure I didn't miss anything. I mentioned if you stay to the end, you get a special gift, and I'll be having an offer. Oh yeah, this is a combination of all 3 of my coaching certifications. And I started this last year. I created a program that combined all 3 of my coaching certifications. So does anybody have any questions before we get going? Okay, I'm just going to start the presentation. Again, I am so grateful that you are here. So you are in the right place. If your job is unsatisfying or you feel as though your talents are being wasted, you want more time or money in your life, you feel uninspired, unmotivated, or just stuck in a rut, or just good just isn't good enough anymore. So I put this slide in here because I And I think I'm going to put the slide in all of my presentations because it really does address some things that we're looking at in this world today. And Bronnie Ware was a hospice nurse, and these are the top five regrets of people at the end of their life. And I think if you look at these, how many of these are you experiencing right now? The third one I think is the most telling. I wish I had let myself be happier. People don't always know that happiness is a choice. So we want to make sure that you don't get to the end of your life and experience any of these regrets. So how do you go from good to great? The Talmud says that every blade of grass has an angel leaning over it saying, grow, grow, grow. And that blade of grass will press through cement seeking the light. And that same power is in you. And that is what drew you here today, that longing for the moreness, life itself seeking an ever freer, fuller, more expanded expression through you. And this desire for more life is the most natural thing in the world. So how do we be like this blade of grass that presses through cement to see the life? We want to do this by discovering who we are. And one of the ways, who we have come here to be, one of the ways to do this is to do what one of my coaching certifications is Q coaching, and this is one of the things that we do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper, you're going to have 3 columns. Along the left, I would like you to think about people that you admire. You could have up to 6 names. So write those names down in the left-hand column. Again, people that you admire. They could be living or dead. They could be fictional characters. They could be your imaginary friend when you were younger. Harry Potter recently made it onto my list. So just write down up to 6 people that you admire in that left-hand column. And it doesn't have to be 6. I think the first time I did this, I listed 3 names. So just go ahead and take a few moments to write down those 6 names. Maybe I should play some music in here. I think I'll play some music while we're doing this. Okay, how are we doing with that? Now, once you have those names, write down some qualities or attributes that you admire about those people. So next to those, I guess it's more than 3 columns, isn't it? So just in the next column after that, write down up to 3 qualities that you admire about these people. And again, it doesn't have to be 3. It could be just 1 or 2, just as many as you can think about. Why do you admire these people so much? So just a word or a very short phrase. A word would be the best. So how are we doing with those words? Were you able to come up with up to 6 names? Do you have your names and your qualities? Now, once you have those qualities, I want you to see if you can combine them into a smaller number. You want to have 7 qualities altogether. So you could have a repeat, so you would just circle one, or there could be some qualities that are very similar that you could combine into one term, like loving or compassionate or something like that. So combine those all into up to 7 qualities, if you can. Well, not if you can. It would be the top 7 qualities, let's say. So this is where your 3x5 card comes in, because once you have those qualities, you're going to want to transfer those onto a 3x5 card. Just put the 7 qualities down below the top line. We're going to save the top line for a minute. So once you have all of those qualities transferred over, I want you to write at the top line of your 3x5 card, this is who I have come here to be. So were there any surprises in the names or the qualities in any of the names that you wrote down? How do those qualities feel? Think about those qualities, and this is really who you have come here to be, because you could not recognize a quality in somebody else unless you had it yourself. So that's very important to recognize, and we really want to use these qualities as we go forward and as we do things in our daily life. So I just want to show you, I have this testimonial from Christine, who came up with a cue card in a workshop and then the very next week had a difficulty at work. And this is how she used it. She was facing a challenge at work, and then she looked at her cue card, and acting in alignment with her cue card, she immediately knew what to do and how to approach the challenge. So it's good for you to have your cue card. You might want to carry it with you, and when you run into a situation, just say, what quality can I use to help me in this situation? And see what comes to you. Because this is really a good way for us to remind ourselves of who we have come here to be. So do anybody have any questions at this point? How does everybody feel about the qualities in their cue card? Normally when I do a live workshop, I have people share their qualities with each other, and it really, you can feel the energy in the room just expand as everybody speaks into who they have come here to be. So we're just going to continue on with how we can move from good to great. It's been said that the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. And most of us are taught to ask small thinking questions, like how do I get to the end of the month and pay my bills? When we really could be asking bigger questions, like how can I travel to the south of France and make $10,000 doing this? And my mentor, Mary Morrissey, used this example for a number of years. And then she was speaking and she said to her husband, Joe, where are we? He said, well, we're in the south of France. And she said, and what am I doing here? He said, you're giving a talk. And she said, she found herself in the south of France and she was making $10,000 to speak. So this is some of the things that we can do if we change our thinking and just be open to doing things differently. So how do we turn your dreams into reality? It requires a little bit of defining. And the most successful people in the planet have used their mind in a particular way that allows them to skyrocket their results. And if we look at it, the problem is really never in the problem. The problem is always our thinking about the problem. So dream building starts with our thinking, and we want to remember that everything is created twice. First, it's a thought, and then it becomes a thing. The chair you're sitting in, the computer you're using, the clothes you're wearing, the room you're sitting in, the house you're sitting in, everything was first a thought before it became reality. And that is the same with everything in our life. Wallace Wattles wrote some amazing books in the early 1900s, and he said that thinking is the hardest thing in the world to do, and that's why most people don't do it. So what keeps us from living our dream or living by default, to have it, let's just see what happens attitude versus design? One of the ways is our personal paradigms or the way we were brought up. I don't know if you know how elephants are trained. When they're really little, they put a big, heavy chain shackle on them and stake it into the ground so that no matter how much they move, no matter how much they pull, they cannot move. They cannot budge past that little bit of chain. And over the years, they learn that when they feel that tug, they know they can't go in that direction, so they go in a different direction. And when they're older, all they do is put a little bit of riverweed around their ankle. And they have been trained since they were young that when they feel that tug, they know they can't go in that direction. And that's how they steer them. They just pull on that riverweed. And by the time they get to be that age, they can really snap that riverweed very easily. But since they have been trained since they were young to know that tug, that they can't move beyond that tug, that they just that's how they move them around. So these are the same with us. We have also been taught that we have limitations, and that when we run into certain things, we don't even try to go beyond those limitations, beyond what we have been trained to think about ourselves. So another way of looking at this is what some people call race consciousness or collective consciousness. If we look at these Time magazine covers, the energy crisis, the war in the Middle East, the economy, smog, if you look closely at these, which you probably won't be able to see from where you are, these magazine covers are all at least 30 years old. So think about it. We have been in the same conversation for at least 30 years. So no wonder we have these thinking problems and people feel as though they can't accomplish anything outside of what they feel like they can do. They let their paradigms run them. James Allen was another amazing writer. And As a Man Thinketh, he said, just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers which he requires, so may man tend to the garden of his mind. So we want to be constantly planting seeds and pulling weeds. We want to plant the seeds of our dream and pull the weeds of our paradigm. So this is one of my clients. And she said that in the past, what she would have done if she ran into something that didn't go quite right, she would say, stop what she was doing, or she would say, what was I thinking? And now she says, what can I learn from this? So she's learned to move forward in the face of fear and self-doubt. And in one case, she had a play where she was in the middle of production. She's a playwright, and she was in the middle of production, and the director had to quit for personal reasons. And she said in the past she would have either become the director herself or abandon the project. And because she was doing this coaching business, she just kept moving along. They found the great director, and it was a huge success. And she said more than the success of the play was the success in how she was able to move through it. So are you ready? Are you ready for something bigger? Are you ready to use your thoughts to define your dream? If you're ready to define your dream, type yes in the chat. Okay. So this will require another piece of blank paper. And when you're defining your dream, the most important thing to ask yourself is, what would I love? Not what do I think society says I can do, or what the economy says I can do, or what politics says I can do, but what would I love? So for a minute, think about, what would you love? And you want to pay attention to your longings and your discontent. Your longings are what you want more of, and your discontent is what you want less of. And both our longings and our discontent speak to our conscious mind. Then there's a ever freer, fuller, more expanded expression and experience trying to express through you. Just like inside an acorn is an oak tree seeking fuller expression. We want to remember that we think in pictures. We want to use our imagination. So many of us, some of us may say that we don't have an imagination. And yet, if I say to you that your partner or loved one is 2 hours late and you have no idea how to get a hold of them, your imagination would go wild, wouldn't it? So everybody has an imagination. It's just how we use it. We want to use our imagination for us and not against us. And we want to make sure that our vision or our dream is approach goals versus avoidance goals. As an illustration, if I say to you, don't think about the Statue of Liberty, don't think about her out there in the harbor with her arm in the air, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about the Statue of Liberty, of course. So you want to have and I use dream and vision interchangeably because some people resonate with dream and some people resonate with vision. So you want to use things like live in financial abundance versus getting out of debt. Move with comfort and ease versus no more back pain. Enjoy living at my ideal weight versus losing weight. And you want to put it in the present tense. You want to say, I am so happy and grateful now that. And you want to make it a 3-year vision to trick your ego into staying silent. If you say, this is what I want to accomplish this year, your ego will say, how many New Year's resolutions did you keep? And you want to try to do this? I don't think so. So you want to trick your ego. Your ego really doesn't know what you can accomplish in 3 years. And it doesn't mean it has to take 3 years. It's just saying 3 years just to keep your ego silent. So we're going to do a little experiment here. And I'm going to turn the music back on because I love this music. So I invite you to sit comfortably in a relaxed way and just eliminate any distractions and take a deep breath. And imagine in your lap is a book. And every page is a day in your life. There's lots of pages to the right and lots of pages to the left. On the left, everything is written on, and on the right is a blank page, is your future. Will these pages to the right be written by design or by default? This is your moment. So gazing from the highest point of view you can take, look down at the landscape of your current life. So we're going to look at our life in 4 or 5 main areas. And I want you to write this down because writing down your vision dramatically increases your chances for attaining it. So if we look at the first area, which is health and well-being, just for a moment, call forth that image. What is your image of health? How do you feel in your body? What activities do you engage in? What do you eat? What does your skin look like? What's your weight? What would you love your health to be? Now let's look at love and relationships. Are you longing to deepen an existing relationship, have more harmony, have a deep relationship, loving relationship with that special someone? What would you love that relationship to be like? Is there any discontent? Is there any discord that needs to be resolved? What would you love with respect to your love and relationships? And these are any relationships you want. What would you love your relationships to be like? And how about your creative expression of or vocation? What kind of work would you love to do in the world? How do you see yourself expressing your gifts? How can you make your job more fun? What would you love with respect to your career or creative expression? And now let's look at the amount of time and money freedom you would like in your life. What would you love in terms of the flow of money in your life? What would you do with that money? Go on a trip? Have the home you've always wanted? Give in ways you've always wanted to give? How do you spend your time? Is there enough to do what you want? And this area also includes philanthropy. So how would you love to spend your time giving to others also? So what would you love in terms of the time and money freedom you have in your life right now? And if you're so inclined, I would have you include your spirituality. I always include my spirituality because my faith is very important to me. So what does your spiritual life look like? What do you believe? How do you express your faith? Do you meditate? Do you pray? How do you share your spiritual gifts with the world? What would you love with respect to your spirituality?
This is my life. This is my time.
Oops. I wasn't paying attention to the music and I get carried away. So does anybody have any questions at this point? How did you do with your vision? Look at those 4 or 5 main areas. How does that feel? Are you happy with what you came up with? You will want to be working on this more. We've only have a little bit of time to do this. So once this is over, really get into this and spend some time in each of these 4 or 5 main areas and really write down. You want to remember you think in pictures. So have as vivid a picture as you can in each one of these areas and really spend some time and have some details. For example, in the time and money section and travel, the travel section of my vision is really the only place where I have a bucket list. So I have a travel bucket list in my time and money section. So come up with really wonderful, fun things that you would love in each of these areas. I love this quote by W.H. Murray. He said, Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. So now that we have our vision, we know who we have come here to be, we have our vision. How do we know that it's the right vision for us? You might ask yourself. How do you know it's worthy of me? How do you know it's the highest possibility for me? We have some questions that we want to ask ourselves. We want to ask, does it give me more life? Does it align with my core values? Does it cause me to grow? Does it require a power bigger than me? If you know how to get to your dream, it's not big enough. Make it bigger. And is there some good in it for others? Even if your dream is to find the love of your life and you think that's a little bit selfish, it's really not, because seeing two people in love is a gift to everybody in the world. So you want to make sure your dream has good in it for others. And if you can say yes to these 5 questions, then you can say yes to your dream. And remember that your dream or your vision is at a very young state right now, and it could be very fragile. So you want to make sure you share it with people that you can really trust, because people may see your vision and maybe think they're doing you a favor and just even raise their eyebrow to you, and it may cause you to question. We want to really make sure that we have our dream and we allow it to come into reality in the best way possible. So now that we have our dream, we've tested it, we want to make sure that we want to decide for it. There was a story about a gentleman. He was actually who, when he was growing up, his father was a horse trainer. So he had traveled a lot. Each time his father had to train a new horse, he was really traveling a lot and didn't have a steady education. So he was in his final years in high school, and he was asked to write down what he would love his future to be like. So he really got into it, and he wrote this story about he wanted to have a horse ranch that had a certain number of acres, and it had a big barn so that he could hold 10 or 15 horses, and the house was big enough so that he could have people over and help people out and have young kids come out and experience horses. And he just got into such detail, and he submitted it. And when he got his grade back, there was a big F at the top of it, and it said, "See me." So he went to the teacher and he said, "What's going on? I don't get it." And the teacher said to him, with your background, with you traveling all over, and, you don't have a steady education, this is really going to take a lot of money to accomplish this. Do you really think you can do this? And the kid was kind of taken aback by it. And the teacher said to him, "If you go home and rewrite it, I will regrade it for you tomorrow and make it realistic." So he went home and he told his father, "Dad, I don't know what to do. What should I do?" And his father said, "Son, it's really up to you. Whatever you two decide to do, I will support you." So the next day he turned the same paper back in and he said, "You can keep the grade. I am going to keep my dream." And the really interesting thing about this was this was a gentleman telling the story on a horse ranch with a barn that held 10, 15 horses. And he was speaking to a group of students while he was doing this. This was the young man that grew up to have his dream. And what was really interesting was, and he said a couple of months before that, his high school teacher came through, and at the end, came through with a group of students. At the end, he took them aside and said, "I am so glad that you didn't listen to me. I killed a lot of dreams back then. And it's not that I did it on purpose. I just didn't know any better. I am so glad that you didn't let me influence you like that and that you kept your dream. So deciding for your dream requires a commitment, just like this young man did, and a willingness to get bigger than your circumstances and bigger than those around you. And it requires a willingness to live from a larger truth of who we are, from the greatness within us, rather than circumstances in your life. So if you're ready to commit to your dream, type in yes, a big yes, all capitals, into the chat area. So you've decided for your dream, you've tested it to make sure it's worthy of you, and we've decided for it. And so how do we actually step into our dream? My mentor, Mary Morrissey, says you cannot get to your dream, you must come from it. And in order to come from it, you must become it. So how do we become it? We want to put on that dream. Let's look at some famous dream builders and see how they changed circumstance to put on their dream and to manifest it into reality. First, we have Henry Ford. Henry Ford had the dream of an internal combustion engine and to have a car that was affordable to the middle class. And then we had the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers had a dream for a flying machine. And Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream for equality and justice for all. And most recently, Diana Nyad had a dream to swim from Cuba to Florida without a shark cage. And at the age of 64, on her 5th or 6th attempt, she finally did it. And then there is you. You are a dream builder. You can create the life of your dreams. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. And here's a quote from Muhammad Ali. He says, champions aren't made in the dream gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. So we want to get into the idea of putting on our dream. One way to do that is to begin to tune into your whole body, to the frequency of your dream, and to really five-sensorize it. Use your 5 senses to put on that life. What does this life smell like, sound like, feel like, look like, taste like? Allow yourself to feel it with your whole body. What does this person do, say, eat, wear? Who do you hang around with? What kind of conversations do you have? How does this person walk out the door in the morning? What does this person watch on TV? Does this person watch TV? What does this person read? Step into your vision and put on that person and stay in the feeling of being that person. So I want you to take a moment now to step into your dream and put on being that person. 5-sensorize it and really get into what it feels like, into that vibration, that frequency of being that person. So how does that feel? Just write one word in the chat that describes how you feel being that person. So now we're going to take a look at if anything came to you while you put on that being that person. Did anything come to you in the time between when we started writing these things down? And that's great, Marilyn. You feel encouraged. I feel encouraged too. I am so happy you're here. It's great to connect with you this way. So if anything came to you while you were putting on your dream, just make a few more notes on your vision. Just spend a few seconds here jotting anything down that came to you. And then we always write down at the bottom, this or something even better still, because you want to hold it in an open hand. You want to keep it in a space so that you're open to new possibilities. Because if you said, this is what it is and this is the way I like it, then you're going to sort of have tunnel vision when it comes to possibly seeing other things. So you always want to hold it in that open hand so that something better than what you have written down may even appear. So there was a gentleman that went into a bank to cash a check. And he asked the bank teller, can you cash this check for me? And the bank teller said, sure, just write your name on it, hand me the check, and I will give you your money. And the guy said, whoa, 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 whoa. You want me to sign the check and give it to you? And the bank teller said, yep, that is policy. He said, what if I give you the check and you don't give me my money? And the bank teller said, there's really nothing I can do. It's bank policy. You sign the check, you give me the check, I give you the money. And they went back and forth a number of times about this, arguing. And finally, the bank teller said, there's nothing I can do. If you want to try another bank, there's lots of banks on this block. Try another bank and see if they'll cash it for you. So he went to the second bank, same thing. Third bank, same thing. Fourth bank, he's going back and forth with the teller. And the teller reaches under the counter and pulls out a Nerf bat and baps him in the head and says, sign the check. So he signed the check, handed it over, and got his money. He went back to the first bank and he said, see, down the street, they gave me my money. And the teller said, yeah, but I think even down the street you had to sign the check, right? He said, yeah, but they explained it to me a little bit different than you did. So where in your life are you afraid to sign the check? Where are you afraid to put your name on it? So we don't really want to be in that position. We want to move forward with confidence as we do this. So we want to, at the bottom of our page, we want to leave lots of room for additions. At the bottom of our page, we want to sign it and date it so that you know this is the day I decided that this was going to be my life. So are there any, write down one word that describes how you felt writing your name on your dream, committing to your dream, and committing to moving forward with your dream. This is another client of mine, Barb. Oh, good. I'm glad you're stronger. That's great. And she said that she has tools and self-knowledge and ideas to find her way now, and she's much happier and stronger. And could she have found her way on her own? And she says no. So she is in the process of accomplishing great things, and she's learned to turn her nose, not sure of, and negative aspects of her life into yeses. So I mentioned previously that I was going to have an offer for you at the end for anybody that would like to move forward in a more powerful way. And I have a limited number of these. I set aside 10 sessions during the week where I offer vision discovery assessments. And this is where we look at where you are, where you would love to be, and the next most important step to get there. So if you're interested in doing that, you can just click on that yes button and sign up. You will create a page where it has some questions. If you fill it out as best you can, and the most important part is your name and email and possibly phone number, so we can get together and review your vision and take you in the next step to create and actually move into and become your dream. And this assessment is valued at $250, and I offer it whenever to people as part of the workshop. So imagine that this is an experiment and 3 months come and go. And what if these were the best 3 months of your life? If you make 1 degree shift now, you will be in a whole new place in 3 months. So how would it be for you if you continued into 2017 with a clear path in your dream? And that's really what I'm offering. So if this is of interest to you, just sign up now. There's only 10, and if you're not one of the first 10, just send me an email and I can schedule you with something else. So are there any questions at this point? How is everybody doing with respect to their vision, who they've come here to be, anything along the way? So one of the, my third coaching certification is Mind PT, and it stands for Mind Power Technology. And what it is it's a pre-made movie that combines affirmations, pictures, and music. And watching it for 3 minutes a day can shift your mindset for up to 6 to 8 hours. And I use this whenever I'm feeling a little off. I scan through the different Mind PT sessions that I have, and I pick one that I can use to shift my mindset. And it really does affect you for up to 6 to 8 hours. So if we look at science and positively priming the mind, a positively primed mind is 39% happier, for one thing. You're more energetic, you're more creative, more productive, less stressful. And it really does help a lot. It's really amazing. And if you look at a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, we really want to have a growth mindset. And using Mind PT can help you shift from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And really, if we look at the qualities of a growth mindset, it's really where we want to be, where I can learn anything I want. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I want to challenge myself. When I fail, I learn. Tell me, I try harder. If I succeed, I'm inspired. My effort and attitude determine everything. So this is just one way that we can help shift our mindset. And our mind really is like a rubber band, and it's going to go back and pick up our old thoughts. And your paradigms are going to start talking to you. And when your paradigms start talking to you, you want to find ways to shift them so that you can reframe your paradigms. And Marilyn, I still remember that article that you wrote for NABO. Most people, I don't think, got it. Do you have change for a paradigm? I still remember that article you wrote. So if we look at ways to change our paradigm, there are 2 ways to change it. One is a very strong emotional or physical impact, or we could proactively change our paradigm. And this happens with a mentor. A mentor provides support, inspiration, accountability, motivation, and guidance. I am a mentor, and I have a mentor. I have someone who has been where I want to be and can reach out her hand and pull me up. And the second piece is structure. You want to have programs, content, consistency, repetition, community. You want to be able to install a new thinking pattern, which consistently over time is how you really create a new paradigm, new ways of thinking. And I am in a structure. And the last piece is a vision, including clarity, emotion, relationship. And you want it to be evolving. Your vision should be evergreen. You should be visiting every now and then and making changes to it and keeping it evergreen and ever changing and becoming who you have come here to be. So nothing gives you more confidence than a crystal clear vision and a mentor to help you work with your vision. And it's your mentor who helps you work on your vision and helps you relate to your vision. And being in a structure helps you gain clarity. And it's all tied together. It's this structure where you grow. And it's your mentor who helps you stay inside the structure of the sport over time. And where it's all related and it all works together. And then inside is you in the geometry of growth. If you really want to grow, you want to put yourself in the middle of that triangle. The triangle of transformation is the three keys to creating the greatest results in the shortest period of time and to helping you go from good to great. In a book called Change or Die by Alan Deutschman, he said 9 out of 10 people don't change their lifestyle and behavior, even if their life depended on it, without the support of a coach. So let's look at how our results are created. First, it starts with our thoughts. And our thoughts create feelings. And based on our feelings, we take action. And our actions create results. And based on our results, we have new thoughts, which create feelings, which create actions, which create results, which create thoughts. So how do we break that pattern? If we look at our society right now, we are on any given moment bombarded with 4 billion bits of information. That's 4 billion bits. Yet we can only recognize 2,000. So think about how you can shift that focus of those 2,000 bits. And if you shift that focus, you can see things differently. A good example of this is it seems like every time I go to buy a new car, those cars appear overnight. The last car I bought was a Ford Focus, and it seemed like the next day after I made a decision, there was a Ford Focus everywhere. And I really don't think that people overnight bought all of these Ford Focuses just because I was thinking of buying one. What it was is I was focused. I had in my mind Ford Focus. It just happens to be Ford Focus. But I just happened to be thinking about, and what I think about, I see more of. So this is really what we want to do. We want to shift our focus to be on our dream and to be on things that will lead us to our dream. You could be in the same room, the same situation, and based on your focus, you would see or not see something that would be the next step to get you into your dream or into your vision. So we want to make sure that we are always stay focused and stay in that vibration of our dream or of our vision. And we want to look at our paradigms. And a paradigm is a standard perspective or a set of ideas, a way of looking at something. And it's most likely a paradigm if you hear yourself say, because or yeah, but. If there's an excuse as to why it happens, then you know it's a paradigm. So we really want to learn how to reframe our paradigms. And we're the only species on Earth that can change our environment. And we do that by changing our thoughts. And this allows us to reframe our paradigms. So the first thing we want to do is to notice what we're noticing. Is it empowering or is it disempowering, our thoughts? If it's empowering, lean into it and see if anything else comes to you. If it's disempowering, take a step back and see how you could see it differently so that you see something as more empowering. So you want to change your thoughts at that point. And then you want to take action. And action is like the ground wire to electricity. Electricity doesn't work without a ground wire. You have to take action to ground it. And then after that, you have a different outcome. So I'm going to give you an example of how I went through this process. And this is what I call Snowmageddon. And I know, Marilyn, you got out of town. Well, you were north, so you wouldn't have been in Snowmageddon anyway. But it was a year ago, November, that the south towns received 6 to 7 feet of snow. And I was right in, being in Orchard Park, I was right in the heart of that snow. So this is the front of my garage, and that mound there is 3 cars. I happen to have all 3 of my cars in the driveway, including my Miata, and my Miata was not very happy. So luckily, I have a neighbor with a Bobcat, and he plowed out everybody's driveway. But just getting from the front door to where he plowed in 5 feet of snow took me almost an hour. And I went back in the house and I felt so defeated. I felt as though I can't do this. So I just collapsed on the couch and I started texting everybody. I said, as soon as they raise the travel ban, you have to come and help me. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, well, that's really not a very empowering thought for a life coach. There must be some other way that I can see this, that I can think about this. So what I decided to do is to have my daughter and I go out, and 20 minutes at a time, we went out and shoveled. So that's what we did, 20 minutes at a time. And this is Megan in front of her car, and you can see she's dug out around her car, but the snow is still on top of her car. So 20 minutes at a time, we went out and we shoveled. At one point, Megan came back into the house full of snow, laughing. And I said, what happened? And she said, I tried to make a snow angel. I got stuck and almost couldn't get up. So we had some fun with it, 20 minutes at a time. It wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't overpowering. And just as they raised the travel ban on Saturday, this was our driveway. We had both cars dug out. The Miata wasn't quite dug out, but I don't think it would want to go out in the snow anyway. So working 20 minutes at a time, I changed my thoughts of I can't do this to 20 minutes at a time is doable. And I have completely different results, because who knows how long I would have been sitting there if I had waited for somebody else to come out and dig me out. So things happen that we cannot control, and we cannot change our circumstances. We can change how we relate to our circumstances, though. And this is another client of mine said she had no idea how negative her thoughts were. They were just there unrecognized. And she learned how to stop the negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts. And now her life is moving in a direction that she's always wanted it to be. So this is another quote by W.H. Murray. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, a chance to draw back concerning all acts of initiative and creation. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur that never would have otherwise occurred. And this is what I call magic. This is where the magic happens. So where do we go from here? How do we go, just to recap, how do we go from good to great? So here are some tools that you can use. You want to fuel your desire. Fuel your desire. You want to increase your believing, and you want to surround yourself with support. So if we look at how we can fuel our desire, you want to live from your vision. You want to remember your cue card. See what values, what qualities you can use on your cue card on when things happen, when you're looking for more motivation to get going. So if this is who I am, how would I be handling this? You want to use Mind PT or some other way to shift your mindset. And you want to, in any given moment, find one thing to be grateful for, because gratitude is at the same vibration as abundance. So we always want to be in that vibration of abundance, of gratitude. And then if we look at how we can increase our believing, you want to notice, this is really reframing your paradigm. You will notice what you're noticing, change your thoughts, take action, and this changes your outcome. And then if you surround yourself of support by having partners in believing, a mentor or a coach, you want to have people that believe in you and support you in moving forward. And there are a couple other things that I've just included that we can use to help you. I don't know if you've ever heard of Amy Cuddy. She had this research that she did, and she has this what she calls a power pose. So if you stand in with your feet shoulder width apart and your arms in some kind of open way, you can even have them on your hips or an upward, just some kind of upward open position. What this does is doing this for 2 minutes increases your testosterone, which gives you confidence, and it lowers your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So if you have to go into a situation that you feel like it might be a little bit stressful, you might want to take a few minutes and do a power pose. You might want to be in this open position for 2 minutes, and that will shift your mindset for up to 2 hours. So really, you just want to find ways to stay in that place where you have your confidence. Another one is the fist pump. If you just stand up and pump your fist and say, yes. Now this you probably won't want to do in a place where people can see you doing it. People might think it's a little odd for you to walk into an important meeting and do a fist pump before you get in. Maybe after you have accomplished what you want, it might be appropriate to do a fist pump. But you want to do this in a place where you can do it and get that adrenaline rush, get that cortisol lowered. So just as a wrap up, does anybody have any questions, any comments? How has this been for you so far? Any good ideas that you're going to implement anytime soon? So you can make a shift at any time, and you want to start where you are with what you have. You want to ask yourself every day, what's one thing I can do today to take a step in the direction of my dream? And ask yourself, what would I do if I knew it was at least possible? And then take that step. There was a kid that went off to college. His father was a third generation barber. And he came back on his first break, and his father was just quiet and depressed. And he just didn't recognize his father. And eventually he went in and he knocked on his father's bedroom door. He walked on his father's door, and he said, you know, what's going on, Dad? And he said, his father said, there's a new hair cutting place in town that I just can't compete with. They give $6 haircuts. There's no way I can compete with that. And he said, well, I learned this new thing in college, this way of coming up with better answers. Well, so let's just try it. He said, what we're going to do is we're just going to write down everything that comes to mind without censoring. So just write it down. No matter what it is, we're going to write it down. Just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. So what is one thing that we can do, Dad? He said, well, I could close the shop. He said, okay, I'll write that down. There must be more, though. So they brainstormed for a while, and at the end of 30 minutes, they had an amazing idea that they thought would really help with the barbershop. So the son went back to college, and he came back at the end of the semester, and his father was more happy than he had ever seen him. He said, so Dad, that must be working, right? He said, my sales are 20% higher than ever in the history of my owning the shop. And so what did they come up with? They put a sign at the top of at the top of the barber shop that said, we fix $6 haircuts. So what is it that you can do that brainstorm and move you in the direction of your dream? Just write down everything you can think of that you can do in 5 minutes, in a half hour, today, this week. And just write everything down, and you'll get some great ideas on how you can move forward too in creating and moving into your dream. So this is another client of mine who said in the past she would have just given up out of frustration when things didn't go right. And now she has new tools and she's manifesting her dream, and she has a great feeling of freedom. So I'm not sure if any of you are Indiana Jones fans, but there was a scene in one of his movies where he is trying to rescue his father. And I think the scene is even called Bridge of Faith. And on the piece of paper he has, it shows that a bridge appears if you step out in faith. And he really was kind of torn about what to do. And he finally just took the step, and the piece of the bridge appeared. He took another step, and the piece of bridge appeared. And he just kept taking steps and taking steps. And he made it across the bridge, and he saved his father. And that's really what we want to do. We want to keep taking those steps so that we're always moving forward. We want to take the step in faith and see where it leads. And then once you take that step, the next step will appear. So we want to constantly be taking those steps and noticing what we're noticing, and just keep moving forward. You can make it all the way to the top of Mount Everest, one step at a time. And this is really what we want to be doing. We want to be moving to our Mount Everest, which is our vision of a life we would love. And if we look at this, Howard Thurman said, don't do what you think the world needs. Do what makes you come alive, because the world needs more people who come alive. So I want to thank you for attending. It's been a joy to serve you. And I really love teaching this material. I love helping people breathe into their dreams. And I love holding you in that space where you can think bigger. And I would love supporting you and getting where you would love to be, creating that life you would love. And I know from years of experience in this field that when people, when this webinar is over, life happens, you get busy. And over the next year, statistically, 80% of you in this webinar will create a very similar version of the life you have now. However, some of you know you're ready for something bigger. And if you are, I just encourage you to hit that register button so that you can hit yes, so that you can register for Vision Discovery Assessment and see where you are now, where you would love to be, and the next most important step for you to get there. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions, comments? Anything that they would love to share at this point? So as we end this week and start another week, remember who you truly are. Remember you have greatness in you, and know that this is your moment. This is your time. Today is your day to live bravely, love boldly, and go after your dream. So thank you very much for attending. I'm going to turn the webinar back to me.
This is my life. This is my time.
Okay, so we'll do it this way.
I believe.
I'm going to turn this back so you can all see me again. And I trust you can see me, even though I can't see myself. When I've done this in the past, I can see myself also. So I want to thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege spending time with you. And anybody still here will receive an email. I am giving each of you 3 free Mind 2 sessions. So they're worth $147. So thank you for attending. Thank you for staying till the end. And anybody that would love a vision discovery assessment, I would love to help you clarify your vision and move forward in your dream. So thank you again for attending, and make it a great weekend. Have a great day tomorrow. I've already hidden Megan's Easter basket. She's going to be 26 in June, and I still hide her Easter basket. So I'm going to just turn off the music and say a good night. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. Put it in the chat if you have any questions, or if you each know how to get a hold of me because you registered for this. If you have any questions at all, just contact me, and I would love to support you in any way I can. So thank you for coming, and I really appreciate it. I hope you got as much out of it as much as I've enjoyed doing this. So thank you again for being here. And again, anybody that is still here will receive an email from me tomorrow, or maybe not, well, tomorrow. I could do it tomorrow. After I've had a little bit of Easter Bunny chocolate, I can send you an email with a link to receive the Mind PT sessions. And when you do it, just if you have any questions on doing the Mind PT, let me know. And as you watch Mind PT, also let me know how things change for you, because I notice a big difference when I watch Mind PT. When I'm feeling a little bit off, I watch a Mind PT session or two, and I just feel a lot better. So keep finding ways to keep you moving forward, keep your vision handy. You might want to have it on another little 3x5 card that you can carry with you, and ask yourself every morning, look at your vision and say, if this is who I am, what would I be doing today? What would I be doing this week, this month? And then write those down, put those in your calendar, and when they show up at the date and time, actually do them. And in a few months, you keep doing this and you will be amazed at where you are. So thank you again for attending, and I really appreciate it, and have an amazing Easter tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.